Hello. With all that's been going on recently with the pandemic, plus the recent geopolitical challenges in Europe, we as employees are facing an increased degree of uncertainty and unrest. This is one of the reasons why many companies are focusing on improving the employee experience to both hire and retain talent. Microsoft launched the employee experience platform called Viva to help organizations with progressing in the areas of company culture, employee well-being, and learning. To get a real-life sense on the employee experience and its importance, I am joined by two distinguished guests today. We have Simona Popovici, who is HR Director at Renault Romania, and Răzvan Cristea, who is the Senior Specialist for Microsoft Viva. So, let's dive right in. Welcome. Simona, you represent a large organization with a diverse workforce, ranging from information workers to frontline employees and senior leaders. How did the pandemic affect all these types of employees?
Thank you. Hi, Nick. Hi, Răzvan. Thank you for the invite. Yes, I am privileged and lucky to have all these kind of people working in Group Renault. In addition, we have an IT hub and an engineering hub, which are both top of the art or state of the art, how I like to say. Look, Group Renault was the first company who closed when the pandemic started. We closed for a month. We did our homework and we opened in the months, and we were the first company in Romania to open. So by the time when everybody closed, we opened. In the middle of the industry crisis and shortly followed by the components crisis. And I think it was a great decision. It helped us a lot, not only to save jobs and make sure that we are addressing the needs of our customers, but it accelerated our learning curve in regards to the pandemic. To go to your question, I think that amplification of everything, it is the first thing that I would say it's a learning curve of the pandemic. So whatever was good before the pandemic flourished. If we, for example, we were good in organizing ourselves very fast, in organizing our work, in being clear with goals. I mean, it is one of our strengths. This immediately visibly played its role in the pandemic. Where we were not so good, immediately created a bit of either fear or a bit of noise or a cry for help or whatever. It created something with regards to relationship with people, with regards to management, with styles, to leadership and everything else. One of the first symptoms, for example, in what was not so good were meetings. I think it's not a secret that many organizations face, and if I look back into the engagement surveys of many years back, I can't remember a survey who was saying meetings are great in any company that I have worked, in any of them. All the time, in the last 20 years, I had action plans and initiatives that will make our meetings maybe more efficient or more interesting or more inclusive or any aspect of the meeting. I think that one of the things that also came up in the pandemic was that the meetings were pretty inefficient in the first part of the pandemic. For many reasons. Inefficient because we were not maybe having a protocol of discussion so well, and we were used like in the face-to-face where you didn't raise your hand always, you talked one on top of the other, they were long. I would say that more meetings also. Probably to show that, the concept of fear of missing out. Probably people felt that they have to be connected all the time in order to prove that they are working. Managers felt that they need to be all the time available, every minute of the time in order to be available for the people or to control things. So this generated and affected the quality of the meetings. I think in the pandemic, and fixing that was perhaps one of the best actions that I remember as at the start of the pandemics. And Nick, we have a long history in the back of introducing teams with one of my former employers. And as in any learning curve, some people at the beginning were more inclined, some people were less inclined. But from today to tomorrow, everybody had to be inclined to use technology. And people who were already hooked, they already spent a lot of time on technology, and their time spending on technology grew, which make them more tired, perhaps. People who were not so used with the technology, they started to use technology, which created pressure in order to perform, learn very quickly, change habits, and so on, so on. So I think every category of employees had something to learn from the pandemic about themselves, about the organization, and about the technology. I remember that in the pandemic, I have organized the first birthday party fully on Teams in the first week of the pandemic. And you know what? It was awesome because we were all, remember how it was. Now we think lockdown and it's 3 times done. Okay. But then it was from today to tomorrow. We were used with certain behaviors. We were, drinking something or eating cake in the office, congratulating our employees and things like that. And suddenly this was taken away from the team dynamic and from the culture of relationship and connectivity. So I remember I was a bit of sun. I went out in the garden, and we were finishing work at 3 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock, we all had to show up in teams, and we had a glass of wine, and everybody had something sweet, and we sang happy birthday, and we reinvented a little bit use of technology, because that was the first time when we had used it for fun.
Just hold on and wait for the metaverse to come along. When the metaverse in Teams will come along, and we'll have additional features to support these types of events. Anyhow,
then it will look like I'm dancing with you guys. Okay. True. So Razvan, you tell me. You are even more in technology and in the Teams, so we should somehow call you when we have an issue with Teams, or if we are not using it. You tell me how you engage yourself when it was pandemic, or how you engage yourself or the people around you when the hybrid work started.
In the beginning, it was very hard to me to find a balance, and it took some time till I realized that, and maybe you already listened to that one, it wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon. And if you are supposed to deliver every moment, every time, in every day, the same stuff, that end-to-end meetings, have this approach of end-to-end meetings, you wouldn't be successful. So what I did, I made a step back a little bit, and also let me get supported by the technology, our technology. In fact, I think we are customer zero, I would say. And I bet you know, and I bet you already received some reminders from technology on how you should disconnect yourself a little bit from time to time, just to avoid that meeting fatigue, for example. It's very well known that it's very good to have some mental breaks from time to time, to disconnect yourself a little bit. This is why, for example, we have in Microsoft Teams right now that meditation part from Headspace, in which you can briefly depth, and basically you can disconnect, as I said. In the same time, I wanted, and this would be also a question to you if you have the same practice, I wanted to get some time in my schedule, and for this I followed, for example, an online course in LinkedIn on how I should organize my schedule in such a way to be on the same piece with my colleagues, for example, and in the same time to have the proper time to create what I need to create, because this is the main differential between myself as a person, as an individual, and technology. I'm creative. Technology is not yet so creative. Maybe it will be in the future. So what I can tell you in few words, I use technology. I'm using technology right now in order to get that balance between work and personal well-being, I would say. Okay. And this is from my very own personal experience. It's not something which is, I don't know, only theory. What I can tell you is that we as a company in Microsoft had a look on ourselves as individuals, because we are a huge community all over the world, different culture, different nationalities, different habits, let's say, of collaboration and so on. And we put all together this data, and with this data and insights, we created what we call employee experience platform, which is Microsoft Viva. And Microsoft Viva is designed, the main scope is to support you as a company, as a leader, as a manager, as an individual contributor in a company, to get your balance for staying productive in the same way with having a well-being state of mind.
You mentioned Viva. I am not so advanced like you. And I don't think I use it at the full capacity, I have to confess. However, there are elements of it that I use it and I ride it hard, how they say. I am under the philosophy that, and maybe not philosophy, but habit, to be a little bit more precise. I like technology, but not for the sake of technology. I like technology to do things for me, how I like it, when I like it, and at my convenience. I don't like a technology who is too pushy, but I don't like a technology who is too shy. So my expectation is that it comes to me, but in the appropriate way, the way I'm ready to receive, so that it gives me the feeling that it is a partner and not a chore.
This is the beauty of it, to have benefits without knowing that you are actually using these benefits.
Yes. So one of the things, for example, that I appreciated, and it happened during the pandemic, and after we decided that the hybrid work will remain new way of working after the pandemic as well. So we started to work like this, and we adjust ourselves according to how bad the virus is, more or less. So, but basically, we are in a hybrid work as we speak forever, as a new way of working. I remember that one day I got a pop-up. I was, starting the day, opening the Teams, doing, stuff on the computer, and I got a pop-up from Teams, and it says, "Did you allocate the time for creativity?" And I said, what time for creativity? And then I realized that all the things that I used to do before, just having a brainstorm or taking 10 minutes here or 5 minutes there to, bounce an idea. I have lost a bit of this habit. Or I was doing it while doing dishes, for example, because, you are at home, you still need to cook and eat and whatever. And then I make a note and I said, but I used to like to do these things. So they said, did you use focus time? And I clicked on this pop-up, and then focus time appeared, and then they asked, I think it was Viva now that I met you. I believe it's Viva Insights, but for me it was on the screen focus time. And it said, do you want to allocate 30 minutes for yourself to learn, to do this, to do that? And I was thinking, so I was thinking, when something is so obvious and you don't do it, it's in all the basic trainings for time management that you have to have, I don't know how little time every day for yourself, but I was not doing this. And then the computer asked me, do you want me to plan it for you? And I said, yes, please. So I clicked the button, and focus time, if you check my calendar, I have half an hour focus time every day. In some days, I just go in and finish my e-learning that I've started, or I read 2 articles, or I just think about the program that I want to develop, or I call a colleague for a brainstorming. But I brought it back into my life, my professional life, and I am very happy with that. So I am very friendly to technology that is a partner and allows me to, to be in control and find a better version of myself.
You mentioned how technology can help you in terms of well-being and growth and development, how it helps you as an individual. Mm-hmm. Well-being and learning are actually our responsibilities, both at the personal level, as you described just now, but also an organization has to support it, right? Its leaders need to support these things. The managers need to support these things. Can you tell me how leaders can contribute to these things and how technology can have a play in that?
I think firstly, I'm under the philosophy that the first person to contribute to learning is the person. And I appreciate you asking what leaders to do, but I will answer starting with what the people can do and should do. Okay, and then how the leaders should be around them and supporting, and also. I think as a person, me included, because I'm also an employee, I really need to realize, and I did realize, that I need to allocate time and make time to learn and continue to learn and develop. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, micro learning. I'm not going for the big stuff. Micro learning, it's quite good. Okay, there are good things for micro learning. So once you establish that you want to learn and you are ready to make an effort and you understand what you want to learn and for what you want to learn, is it a job? Is it current job? Is it future job? Is it career? Is it skills? It's a life skill. It's a career skill. I mean, many people rediscovered themselves in the pandemic. Many people. You have more time to reflect. You realize what life throws to you. There are hundreds and thousands of different stories that we can all learn from. Okay. You discover strengths that you didn't know you had. You are more resilient than before, but you didn't know, and now you know. So if you are prepared to take it to the next level, then you need a good company and a good leader. The good company will provide you with opportunities, but will not become responsible instead of you. And opportunities these days, the world is so big and so rich that even access to internet, to go into LinkedIn in order to take an e-learning from there, is an opportunity. Okay, that you can do it very easy. But even more, there are excellent e-learning programs and podcasts and video learnings and video trainings. Many reputable consultants and professors in the first year of the pandemic did a lot of community work, and they donated a lot of high level quality stuff. So you are not dependent of and you can control what you learn. And also many companies, including ours, invested in enormous e-learning capacity, so that everybody has access. I would say that in a twisted way, the pandemic was one of the highest contributors into democratization of learning.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Democratization of learning. And now I'm answering to the leader. I think that now I'm answering to the leader question that you put. And I think once you have number one and number two that I said, you have the leader there to give you a bit of space and encourage you to learn, and also involve him or herself into the learning process if necessary, either through coaching. I mean, I've done a lot of online coaching with not only my direct team. I mean, that I'm for a few years now in HR, and I know a lot of people, and some people just wanted a mentor, and some other people just wanted an advice, and some other people just, wanted a bit of help here and there. So I allowed myself, but also everybody who ever asked me to go out in the world and participate in all kinds of interactions that now suddenly were there for you to grab. Before, you need budgets to go into a conference. Now I can tell you so many opportunities for conferences or affordable workshops I have not seen in my entire profession. So perhaps if I have to pick one thing that the leader should do is to create the environment so you can learn.
Simona, do you feel the need of having an aggregated view on how the learning path is done across the entire company? Because you have different departments, different roles in the same organization, not with the same rate of consumption, the learning content. You said that this is what I observed from my own experience, the main problem of almost every company. We invest a lot in the learning systems, learning content, and so on, but maybe sometimes the employees are not consuming enough or how much else we would want to the learning information from the readiness part. How do you see this?
I think we need to make it also a little bit easier. Because the first big thing is now that the opportunities is there and it's ready for you to grab. The second question is how easy it is to grab this opportunity when you have either my 30 minutes per day. If out of my 30 minutes per day that I have allocated to this kind of stuff, creativity, growing, learning, articles, whatever, if I spend 15 minutes to connect, I'm already drained of mood to learn further. So I think that first, easy access. I mean, technically easy access, not only easy philosophical access, technically easy access, preferably everything in one place, a bit of guide, something that you just click and go, no more than 2-3 clicks. That is one of the things that I appreciate. I also appreciate in general, but in learning even more, a bit of push. Meaning, if you saw that I'm looking for keywords, if the technology says that I am looking for certain keywords, bring me the family. Don't let me ask you the keywords for the entire family. Bring me closer the family of the keywords that I'm looking for, because probably I have I am looking for something and I am not so good in expressing it. It will, help me access easier. And then let me see how I'm doing, or let me as a leader see how my guys are doing. Like, for example, if I see that half of my team needs to, or we agreed that we do a training on how to have efficient meetings, but all the trainings for efficient meetings are 70% not understood. Then maybe me as a leader, I need to do something, but I do not have the time to go in 10 informations from 10 people and check how each was doing. Okay, so I will need a bit of a partner here to tell me, hey, you are the leader of these 3 people. This particular aspect of the meeting, take care. Maybe you want to take it in coaching. Maybe you want to address it or ship to me some predictive learning path. Predictive is big these days. It works in learning as well, not only into the dashboards where we look at how many people miss days, or how we are with the attrition. That's the most obvious predictive. But in learning, there is a lot of predictive. So to go back, I would love as a leader to be able to increase the engagement and the impact of learning and the fun for learning by having easy access and everything in one place, and a little bit of hints that I can then take and further discuss or combine with other projects, because learning is not only e-learning, or it's wider than that. So, and the same to the employee. I mean, okay, you finish 70% or you are okay 70%, take the test again. That's not it. I would like to know, as a person going to training, you seem to struggle in this area. Have you considered such and such? Do you want to think about 3 questions? How else I could help, a little bit there.
Well, I have a very good news. Starting from November.
I'm so ready for good news, Razvan. I started with the year being ready for good things to happen. So shoot.
Yeah, starting from November, we're kind of proactive, let's say. And in November, we launch what we call Microsoft Viva Learning.
Okay.
Which is enabling you as an organization, as a leader, as an individual contributor, again, on all these levels, let's say, to bring the learning in your flow of work. So imagine that you are doing the operational activities in Microsoft Teams, for example. With Viva Learning, you can bring all this learning content on these learning activities and reports and insights for you as a leader, for example, in Microsoft Teams in such a way not to be forced to switch between applications, to go in different sources and so on. Why? Because we saw that this is more efficient and this increases the consumption rate of this content. Just because the content, as you said, is coming to you, you are not going to the content of this readiness part. Okay. And we saw that with this learning in the flow of work, we accelerate more what we call social learning. For example, I study something, I read about an article, or I perform an online course, which seems very interesting from my point of view, and I will for sure recommend this course to Nick, for example, just because we have the same area of interest. This is social learning, and I easily can share this through Microsoft Teams. So starting from now, as a good news, we can use this in the one single hub of collaboration and communication and learning.
So
awesome.
We've touched on well-being, personal well-being. We've touched on learning at an individual level, at an organizational level, and what should be done. I think these are key factors that affect attrition, right? If you read the press out there and all the specialty literature, if you like, right? You will see that these are very important factors when it comes to attrition. Attrition drives me to talk a bit about the great resignation. It's impossible to have an HR person in front of you and not talk about the great resignation. Look, what are the signals and where are you getting your signals from to understand if your company is at risk of being affected by this grand resignation?
Look, Nick, before you get to the signals, you need to accept that the world is changing, and therefore, the world is changing because the people change the world. Okay, and one of the consequences of the pandemic is that people had time to reflect, and they changed their lifestyles in the pandemic, and they changed their situation sometimes, and after being constrained in a certain model of living, they are shifting. So on one hand, it is absolutely normal to accept that some people will not want to go back to the old models, and the companies will also not want to go back to the old models. That's why most of the companies who moved fast went to hybrid, went to more flexibility, went to all kinds of things. So this, I think it's how I call it, the platform for discussion. Now, once you acknowledge that there is a natural phenomena going on, then you look how you can make this natural phenomena not be so harmful for you and for the company you're working and for the people you are working with. And here, nothing will replace conversation among people when it comes to their personal life. Nothing will replace. Now, this conversation can be through technology, if we are still social distancing, or it can be face-to-face if we can afford it. But finding out how a person feels and what they need, and here is the role of manager, nobody can replace. Now, on top of that, and once this being said, then there are all kinds of things that we do, from little surveys that we do, from stress surveys that we are considering, from engagement surveys where we take the pulse, from pulse surveys, from dashboard, where we look where the trends are coming, from where people come. Then you also need to keep an eye on the market to see what new players are coming, if people go to those who play those players, if you are targeted. Our market in Romania is moving now, as many other markets in Europe, but when I say market, I say employer market. And we need to understand that when a market moves, the market moves. So the only thing that you can do is move with her and do the right things for the people you have, as much as you can. Okay, as much as you can. What I'm missing though, from what I said, it's classic. I mean, pretty much in various moments in time, we've done pretty much the same thing. But what I'm missing, and what, or maybe we are not doing enough, it's something more predictive. So something that can push into yourself, okay, you had this type of resignations here and this type of changes there, and to bring faster predictive possibility that something will happen in a certain team or in a certain area. A little bit to spot the problem before the problem. To spot the problem before the problem, and to channel, because in any company in this world, regardless how much or how less money you have your resources. Okay, if you have, for the sake of discussion, 5 resources, you want to invest the 5 resources that you have into the situation that gives you the higher results. Okay, so this is how I see a predictive helping me. A problem before the problem, where I can invest so it doesn't become a problem, if it makes sense.
It does.
That would be my aspiration. I would love to be able to play with such things at a certain point. Now I'm not playing yet, but I'm sure that if you are not already cooking something, because I see smiles, probably you will cook something.
Because we raised the bar. So yes, we have this. And what we are doing right now with Microsoft Viva Insights, we are looking at the data, let's say, which is exchange between end users, between employees, and we are grouping it in what we call productivity KPIs, let's say, which gives you a flavor about what is the probability that a certain group of employees are burning out, for example, or are over collaborating without having the proper time for focusing, as we discussed earlier. Or maybe we are looking at the manager styles, because as you know better than me, there are several manager styles. And we want to avoid, let's say, that double booking meetings in which several levels on the same department are present in the same meeting. It's a loss of time, money, and also engagement from the individual contributor. Imagine that I'm in a meeting, my manager is also there, the manager of my manager is there. So I'm not feeling empowered at all. So everybody, it's a lose-lose situation. And we can transform this if we look on this data, which are, by the way, anonymized data, depersonalized data, okay? We can have this at a company level, and we can put in place some, not we as vendor, technology vendor, but you. So we can empower you as leaders in HR, for example, to put in place some plans in order to optimize different topics that we observe. So actually what Viva Learning is doing is giving a snapshot on the current situation, gives you some recommendations, for example, after identifying some problems that you define as a problem, let's say, and helps you then track the progress of the plan that we propose over there. And again, you can measure it. So this is the main differentiator between a classical survey in which you can only look in certain moment in times where you are as a company, versus this situation when you are using Viva Insights, for example, and you can have a continuous tracking of the progress and of the status of the.
It sounds great, and I'm looking forward to see. One thing that obviously I don't know how it looks, so if I am not spot on, accept my apologies. I want to say that employees don't like to be controlled, and so it is, whenever technology is measuring productivity, it brings fear. And I think it is very important that we accept that, because it's like in parenting, you do not want your child to feel that you control and suffocate them at any minute of their life. The same is with productivity tools. So as long as it is, how to say, respecting that it's not controlling, and it is, pretty helpful for all the parties, including the employees, I think it will bring it to the next level. So for me, if I would be offered, I mean, although I'm a fan of predictive and everything, and my heart was beating fast when you told me what you told me, I still don't want to transform myself in an over-controlling leader. And if I will pay a lot of attention to any technology that is suspicious for that. So having said that, please show it to me at one point.
Even if you
because I'm
are
curious.
a controlling leader, you'll not be able to do it through this technology, because this is a privacy protected technology.
Because people don't appreciate. The world has changed. Micromanagement and controlling leaders are becoming dinosaurs, living dinosaurs, and it's not the future. Empowerment, trust, and self-management is the future.
This is in fact, and thank you for raising it up, this is in fact a tool which could support different leaders, for example.
I am happy to hear.
From this controlling to empowering.
I'm happy to hear, Răzvan.
Okay.
But I'm in HR, so I have to say these things because I believe in them.
Believing it, yes.
Because I believe in them.
All right. So I think we covered the topics of the day. I want to thank Simona for joining today's discussion. Looking forward to the next one. I want to thank Răzvan for joining this session as well and helping me prepare it. And well, what can I say? Until next time.
Until next time. Thank you, guys.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.